This is Vernon. He's my new puppy. We do lots of stuff together. Watch movies. Not best in show again. Play games. Now you know that is not how you spell neuter. Lots of stuff. When it comes to dinner time though, we usually go to our separate spots. Not anymore. I'm making recipes that you and your pet can share together. This is Pet Chef. So today I'm going to be making cream cheese chews with my assistant Vernon right here, who's eagerly awaiting them. Very simple recipe. We're going to take some turkey cold cuts and some cream cheese. I'm just going to take a little bit of softened and spreadable cream cheese, put right on the center of the turkey. And once you have it, spread it out all to the edges to the side. We're going to do all the pieces, and I'll show you what we do. Just take it, roll it up, and it sticks on its own. You don't need a toothpick. You're going to cut off the ends just a little bit. That's for the chef. And cut right at an angle, just like so. And what's great about these is not only do they come out a little pretty, pop them in the freezer, let them get frozen, they make awesome teething treats for teething puppies. Don't they, Vernon? And after you've let your cream cheese chews harden in the freezer for a couple hours, they are ready for dinner for Mr. Vernon, aren't they? There you go. That is yummy.
Chef that bitch.
Hi, I'm Philippe Newland, and this is Top 50 Dishes of New York City. We're here today at Prune with Gabrielle Hamilton, the chef, a chef's chef, and her specialty is sweetbreads. So let's go in and see what it's all about. Come on.
So these are the sweetbreads with bacon and capers, and let's see if Philippe likes it, and if he doesn't, there's something wrong with him.
Oh my gosh, this looks like it's gonna fit my Atkins diet, no problem. Okay, so Gabrielle, here we have this beautiful painting of a dish, sweetbreads. Why are they called sweetbreads?
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Is that to make people feel more comfortable?
I think it might be
right,
because
so people think they're gonna get date nut bread or
right.
vegan walnut bread, but it's actually the thymus gland. I think the thymus regulates sex.
It maybe regulates
metabolism or something.
Yeah,
but
definitely not cholesterol.
No, and you know what? It actually disappears in a mature animal. So there are only veal sweetbreads or lamb sweetbreads. There are not sheep or pig or cow.
But it has to be a young animal.
That's right.
How do you go about taking that big glob of white wonder and turning it into this?
Right. I mean, it's a deep fry with a light crust, so it has a dipped in flour, excess flour taken off, then dipped in egg, and then dipped in the Japanese breadcrumb panko.
The panko, which is beautiful.
It's deep fried, and it's a very quick pan sauce with brown butter and bacon, and then capers, and the brine from the capers, that very salty juice, and then tons more sweet butter mounted in.
Because you can never have enough
and black pepper,
sweet butter.
I'm not even boasting, I'm just categorically saying these are the best sweetbreads in New York.
Rock and roll.
And
so I think objectively I'm going to start cutting in. This is an objective cut. And just look at that. Look how beautiful that texture is, and you can tell that this is in no way, shape, or form dry. This is going to be a rich, luscious experience. Cut with a little bit of caper there. I'm ready. Here we go. It's like this, it's like biting into this beautiful ball of luscious silk.
Well, that texture is so much more palatable for starters or beginners, I think, than like brains. Because you know how that's silky but custardy, which can really freak people out. But this is meaty. I mean, I think we could serve it to children and call it chicken nuggets, and they would
believe it. This is like high-end chicken nuggets for cholesterol-loving adults. Because there ain't enough sauce there. There we go. So this, without a doubt, is one of the top 50 in New York City. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this. These are way better than chicken. I mean, I'm happily eating your chicken McNuggets without getting the toy. I don't need a toy. This is way better than that.
Watch, for there are going to be kids coming here now. I have to order booster seats for all the children that are going to come and eat the chicken McNuggets.
Anyway, Gabrielle, thank you so much.
Thank you for
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And now I'm just going to keep eating if that's okay. Sweetbreads, not just for breakfast anymore.
For me, it was, I think, 2 weeks into my wine director gig at NOPA. Four Top brought in, a table of four, brought in a bottle of red sparkling, I can't remember who it was, I feel like maybe Frank Family or something, a red sparkling, I think it was Napa. It was warm, so I put it on ice because, you know, warm sparkling wine is dangerous anyway. So I put it on ice, and the restaurant's busy, and I'm running around, and I put glasses on the table, and 20 minutes later, I go by the wine table, and the wine's still sitting on ice. They haven't gotten opened yet. So I'm like, oh my God, they're still waiting for their wine. So I go grab the wine, grab a wine napkin, and I have my ritual. I've opened 1,000 bottles of sparkling wine, and I have the way I do it. So I'm talking to them quickly, and I'm doing it fast. And as I undo the cage, I can feel the pressure on the cork. I mean, it's wanting to come out. So I put it on my leg. I do this kind of ritual. I put it on my leg, and I switch hands. And as I go to switch hands, the bottle just shoots out from my hand, and it's a concrete floor at NOPA. Hits the floor, doesn't break, luckily, smacks the floor though, and on its way down, sprays like a fountain, sparkling red wine all over the table. So the bottle hits the floor and then shoots down the hallway like a bottle rocket, spraying red wine everywhere, and people at the other end of the restaurant were looking out like, is it raining? What's going on? And I was just standing there, cork in hand, speechless. I said, let me get you a bottle of champagne.
Hi there. Winter's approaching fast, but you don't need to settle for Grandma's cognac and hot toddies. Beat off your winter blues with one of my favorite cocktails ever. Today, we're having sex on the beach.
You'll need 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1/2 ounce of peach schnapps, 2 ounces of cranberry juice, 2 ounces of orange juice, a highball glass, and some ice. Simply add your ice to the highball glass and build your drink straight into the glass. Garnish with an orange or cherry, and succulate.
Sweet and sultry. Almost as good as the real thing. And no sand in your crack.
All right, we're here with Chef Wiley Dufresne from WD50. Thank you for joining us at Devour yet again.
Certainly,
we much
certainly.
appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
And it was not easy to get Chef Dufresne to come in and speak with us today, not because he doesn't like us, well, I don't know, but because he's actually been one of the chefs who's been participating in all of the seminars here, or, a vast majority of them, right?
Yeah, no, I've been...
You're like, don't talk to me, I'm going to go and do these seminars.
No disrespect meant to anybody, but yeah, I mean, it's fun to come here and do your demo and present, but it's also fun to come and see what other people are doing. So I feel like more of an obligation to do that.
The theme of this whole thing has been, or is still, because we have another day to go, the role of the chef, the responsibility of the chef, and we've had some conversations about the responsibility of the chef as mentor, Danielle Ballou, Rick Moonen talking about the responsibility of the chef in sort of self-editing on the menu with regards to species of fish that are, they're being overfished. You work very closely with your whole team in the kitchen. I think it's one of the more sort of democratic feels in a kitchen that I've experienced. Do you want to talk a little bit about your sense of responsibility to your staff?
Sure. I think at the end of the day, for me, I think I feel a responsibility just to make them think, and that can encompass a very sort of broad stretch of possibilities. But I just really want them to think. I just want them, whether it be to think about what they're doing immediately in terms of serving a table, or think about it on a much sort of larger picture. How can we? What are some ways we can improve the service here? What are some ways that we can tweak this dish? Or are we doing this the best we can? Are we? I really, at the end of the day, that's all I hope of anything. When anybody comes to work at WD-50 and they leave, someone says, "What is it like working there?" It's like, it really made me think. I'm open to the idea that, the coat check girl and the dishwasher could come up with as many good ideas as me. And so I want to hear everybody's input on the process.
So I want to talk about Heston Blumenthal for just a moment, because for some obvious, there are going to be obvious parallels that people are going to draw. But anything that he was doing where you thought, wow, that is just wacky, weird, and fun? He described himself as a big kid.
Yeah, well, he is, and he's a curious kid too, which I like, and I think that's probably sort of at the root of maybe our similarities. I mean, he's longer at the game than myself, and farther down the road, and certainly more established, and got a bigger infrastructure for the whole big kid thing. But
his kitchen looks like NASA.
But and rightfully so, and he's doing some really neat stuff.
The sort of cuisine that you do, is there are you guys talking to each other, emailing each other, or messaging each other on ideas, comparing notes on some of the new stuff that you're working on? Is there a community in that sense?
There's community in the sense that we help each other when we can. I mean, not so specifically, hey, I'm working on this, what do you think, or anything like that. But if I've got some questions about something, or vice versa, or if he's traveling this way or I'm heading that way, maybe we can help each other out. We were fortunate enough to go spend. He just built that new lab, sort of extension to his kitchen, and we were fortunate enough to be invited out there to spend a week with him, and that was a big honor, and we were excited about that. And then, like him coming to dinner tonight would be a fun thing, and get to sort of return the favor. But yeah, I mean, I actually have a few questions. I'm going to fire an email off to him this week about some stuff that he did, and just get his take on things, because he's sort of, certainly, I don't want to say elder in an elderly sense, but an elder statesman insofar he's been at it longer than most, and brings some good perspective.
How to poach fish. Salmon, salt, onion, garlic, thyme, celery, carrot, fish stock that you've already made, or you can substitute water with a little bit of mirepoix. First, put your stock on the heat. Next, chop up your mirepoix, the carrot, celery, and onion. This is a fairly quick cooking method, so your cut should be small. Crush your garlic and throw in your thyme, then add everything to the warm stock. Now for the important part. Make sure your liquid isn't boiling. It should be right at 180 degrees Fahrenheit, just shy of a simmer. Carefully place your fish in the hot poaching liquid. It should take about 10 to 20 minutes depending on the size and type of fish that you cook. Make sure not to overcook it. Remember how easy it is to dry meat out by cooking it in liquid. Check it by pressing the fish every 5 minutes or so, and use your judgment to decide when it's done. Then carefully remove the fish from the poaching liquid. Remember, it's going to be very, very fragile. Then sit down and enjoy a nice, healthy meal.
Never use a literal word.
These guys need to be able to ferret around in there.
And say it's
extracted.
Yeah.
Extracted. Talking about charming atmospheric peasants is sort of the wine writer's stock and trade. You want to go to college, you get it off the table, and you start kicking out. Lift off.
So, you know, what I find in this discussion is that really we're talking about, well, here's the word, dictionary. This is all an issue of language and the choice of language to, as you mentioned, oppress. Can we draw an analogy, say, to the oppressive audiophile snob who, you know, there's no understanding these people?
There really isn't. That's because I've always been interested in it and never been able to understand it. And so I feel when I'm around an audiophile, I'm fascinated in what they have to say, even though I don't really understand it. But someone else has made that analogy, and I thought it was really apt, because the wine snob and the audiophile have much in common. I mean, in the case of the wine snob, everyone knows how to taste, but not everyone knows how to taste a wine in the manner of the wine snob. Similarly, everyone knows how to hear, but not everyone knows how to listen. You know, and so audiophiles, you're sitting there and you're saying, what is it about this sound quality that they're perceiving is special? What am I missing? What am I is there some wavelength that I'm not tuned into?
Right.
You know, orally, so to speak. What is it that I'm missing? And similarly, I think people are like, okay, it smells like grapes and it tastes like. Then it's got, you know, I feel okay, tannin. It has a bite. You know, okay, but the amount of information that the snob can bring to bear on that experience, much of which is driven by this sort of oblique and oppressive language, is greater.
May I read from your book, John?
Please do.
Green is defined as pejorative slang. Emphasis is always important. Pejorative slang term for an underripe wine, usually a red that has flavors of green bell peppers and or other salad produce. Do you encounter these wines?
As a experienced wine taster, you know that the term green is bandied around with impunity.
This is a word like
this is
nose.
green. This is
And
a word
there are
like
many
nose.
definitions.
That is green is very much an insider sort of professional slang term that someone at a professional wine tasting with. Oh, that's green. I'm getting a lot of green on that. You know, it's that cab that's underripe, overcropped. You know, that kind of thing.
And just the nonchalant, rat-a-tat-tat way that David says that's something we want civilians to learn how to do, just so they can talk the talk and really oppress their friends.
And oppress their friends.
Oppress their friends.
Oppress.
Yes,
Oppress.
because that's what a snob should do.
You should oppress.
You move from impress
Yeah.
through your book.
Anyone
to
can impress, but
Yes.
to oppress is another thing. And the vocab is such a key part of it, because it's always, why use a literalistic word when you can use an opaque, difficult word? Like, why would you say, wow, this is a really full-bodied wine, when you could say it's
Extracted.
Yeah.
Extracted.
Extracted versus full. There's no contest. It's extracted suddenly
And
puts anyone you're dealing with on their heels and makes them
What
realize.
the hell
wait a
does that
minute,
mean?
This
Yeah.
man is serious.
I mean,
What are we going to do
just
with
as
this?
we label, important sports cars with, X's in the names, I think here we have a term that has an X. In
right. And
it.
why would
Shares
you
that
why would you say aftertaste when you can say
Finish.
yeah,
Finish.
and you can time it too.
finish,
Yeah.
and you can count it off.
Mhm.
It's another one of these point things. We're able to numerically codify what we're looking at.
Well, I mean, you'll hear someone say, "I love it on the nose." What do you mean? Like, it sounds kind of messy, actually.
Cheese is easy. Do you like cheese? Do you like cheese? Do you like cheese, sir? Most people seem to think it's hard. Really good cheese. Do you like cheese? Try to figure out what their comfort level is with cheese. Welcome to Cheese 101. This is the hard cheese segment. It doesn't mean like it's for geeks or anything. It just means that the cheese we're talking about today is hard. What is hard cheese? Take the curds, they put it in a press or in a basket, and they press down on the curds so it squeezes some of the moisture out, and then they age that cheese for a long time. Sometimes 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years. There's a cheese in Holland that's called Gouda. You may know it as Gouda, But if you're one of those people who likes to say Vincent van Gogh, sorry, then you would also say Gouda instead of Gouda. That cheese can be aged for 4 to 5 years. So you get the picture, right? As it ages, what happens to it? Somebody once said, cheese is milk's leap to immortality. That's exactly what's happening here. He was thinking of hard cheese, because after a couple of years, it just gets harder and harder and drier. Now, if you did it with a small cheese, it would get unattractively hard. The outside would be all dry and crunchy. But they do it usually in big wheels. I don't have a big wheel here, but you can see that these are cut from big format cheeses. That enables it to stay moist enough on the inside over a couple of years. And they have wonderful flavor, these hard cheeses. You know what they taste like? I used to say to my dad all the time, Dad, smell this wine. What does it smell like? He'd go, I don't know, it smells like wine. Hard cheese smells like cheese. All those things that you think of as cheesy, cheddar, Swiss, even Parmigiano Reggiano, you know what I mean? They smell like cheese. Other cheeses may smell like nuts or truffles. These cheeses smell like cheese. Now, most often, hard cheese is made from one type of milk, though there are exceptions, which I'll show you in a moment. But that type is, well, here, you pick. Which one? Oh, you said this one? No, you said this one. Okay. That's it. We have here 3 cow's milk hard cheeses, and that's what you most typically see. And he's just scampering along, and he's very happy, my little cow. I'm going to show you this one first. This is called Cantelet. It comes from the center of France, from Auvergne. It's a kind of mass-produced cheese, so it's not one of my favorites, but it's cow's milk. And you can cut this with one of these nifty Scandinavian cutters, and you get a piece just like that. This one is called Comté. Its full name is French Gruyère de Comté. It's like Gruyère cheese, but it's made on the French side of the border, near Lake Geneva. And this is really one of my favorite cheeses, hard cheeses of all, the Comté. Probably the best of all is the Gruyère. You can see the name on here. And Gruyère, by law now, has to come from Switzerland. Also, it's right near this cheese, but it's a little special because of the conditions of that town. And you can see it's got just a little bit more of a white shred to it, like it's promising even a little bit more flavor than this one. I'll taste them quickly. These are good cheeses. I like to eat them just by themselves. You have a piece of bread with butter. Definitely, it's a little bit like a baked potato, actually, but not that interesting. The Comté, oh, much more nuts and pasture. And then finally the Gruyère, which is one of the greatest melting cheeses in the world, great for cooking, but it's also great by itself. You can also have this. Here we go. This is a sheep's milk cheese. This is perhaps one of the most famous of the hard sheep's milk cheeses. This cheese is called Manchego, and it comes from Spain. It comes from La Mancha, to dream the impossible. What they do is they take this sheep's milk, the curds, they put it in a wheel, and the wheel has this imprint on the inside. So as it sits there for a long time, a year, year and a half, 2.5 years, the cheese picks up this, this imprint on the outside. It sort of looks like a tire track. And since this is made from sheep's milk cheese, it's got a totally different taste, though it has a very similar kind of texture. But it's more, well, sheepy. It's more barnyardy. Absolutely. These are my friends, the hard cheeses. Visit them often. It's good, right?
Very nice.
How come you love cheese?
Because it's good.
Hey.